two questions for you, and I'm telling you in advance that for 99% of those listening, the answer to both will be no. Question number one, does your organization think it gets all the vendor credits owed to them? And question number two, does your staff know what to do with them? In this soundbite, we'll explain what you and your team need to know about these often lost funds. Stick around until the end when we share a dirty little trick that some vendors try to make sure you don't get your credits, and we explain how you can work around that. Hey guys, I'm Mary Schaefer, founder of AP Now, the place where we address all those issues related to accounts payable and the payment function. These short sound bites are designed for those who work in, manage, or have responsibility for the accounts payable function. All right, let's get started. Vendor credits. How are they created? Typically, they're created when you overpay your vendor unintentionally. This may be because you overpay them because you didn't take a quantity discount that you were entitled to because several of your different divisions were ordering from the same person. Maybe it was created because you made a duplicate payment that the vendor didn't tell you about. Maybe they gave you a credit for some damaged goods, or etc. So what happens when these excess payments are made? Typically, the vendor issues a credit, okay? They issue a credit memo, and then they do one of several things with it. They might send it to you, the customer, or your company, and then when it gets there, it'll go to either purchasing or accounts payable. Or in some cases, they create it, they put it on your books, and then they do nothing with it. Okay, so it's sitting out there, but nothing happens. You don't know about it. Now, when it gets to your company, sometimes it gets to accounts payable, sometimes it doesn't. When it gets to accounts payable, if you're lucky, then your processes know how to handle it, and they use it and they take it as a credit against a future payment, and your company gets the value for it. But that's not always what happens. Sometimes your processes don't know what to do with it. Okay. Now, if you do nothing with the credit, and you might do nothing with the credit either because you don't know about it, because the vendor didn't send it to you, or they did issue that credit memo, they sent it to you, and then heaven only knows what happens with it. That credit sits on the vendor's books for a while, not forever. In many cases, what happens is at the end of the quarter or the end of the fiscal year, as that's approaching, the accounts receivable person wants to clean up the books. So they go through the books and they see your open vendor credits, but they also see you owe them some money. Maybe you took an unauthorized early payment discount. Maybe you made a deduction on an invoice because you thought they were damaged goods. They didn't agree, or some other reason. Maybe you didn't pay an invoice because the goods were damaged or weren't what you ordered or whatever. So there's some unresolved issue that they just put on the books and they didn't fight with you about it. Well, they'll take those vendor credits and they'll use those to wash away those outstanding debits. So you never know about it. You're happy that you think, whatever, and they're happy also, except if you knew about it, you wouldn't be happy. Now, before we discuss how to make sure you get all your vendor credits, I'd like to invite you to subscribe. It's free, completely private, and you can unsubscribe at any time. By ringing the bell next to the subscribe button, you'll be notified when we post new accounts payable content, which we do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And by the way, on Saturdays, we're now posting some Wordle content because just like you, we like to have fun sometimes. And by the way, you don't need a YouTube account to subscribe. You can also subscribe if you have a Gmail account. So how can you make sure that you get all your vendor credits? Number one, you want to train your staff to recognize credits, to recognize them, number one, and the proper way to handle it. Unfortunately, in some cases, your processes don't know what a vendor credit is. They don't recognize it. And when they see it, they think it's another invoice and then they pay it. So maybe you had a vendor credit of $100. The vendor owes you $100, and now the vendor will owe you $200 because they paid that vendor credit. So you want to do a little bit of training. It doesn't have to be a lot of training. It doesn't have to be extensive, but you want to make sure that your processes know how to handle credits. And number three, what you want to do is you want to do a statement audit. You can start out doing it yourself, and in fact, we recommend that you start out doing it yourself, and then consider an outside firm. Now, This is the dirty little secret that I promised I'd share with you at the beginning. Some vendors want to make sure that you don't know about those credits because they don't want to give you the money back. Not a lot of them, but some of them. So obviously they won't send them to you. And when you ask for that statement, they'll happily send you that statement. But what they will do is suppress the printing of the credits on that statement. So you only see the open invoices. So when you request them, you want to make sure you make it clear to them, hey guys, not only do I want my statement, but I want to see all outstanding activity on that statement, not just our open invoices. Okay. So to fully understand why you should be doing regular statement audits, you might want to watch our soundbite on statement audits. There's a link to it in the show notes below, and on YouTube, a link will appear momentarily to the left. So you want to watch that right away.